Okay, good morning, hello. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming for this session. First, I will try to do a demo at the end, but if not, maybe there is not enough time for question. If not, feel free to contact me outside, and I will show you my computer what I have. Okay, so today I want to try to explain you how to try to maintain Drupal relevant in the git-based CMS era. Okay. Who am I? So my name is Eduardo Garcia, but only my mother called me like that. So you could call me Enzo, as almost anyone else. My social networks are always Ensolution. My Drupal handles Enzo, and my blog is enzo.weknowinc.com. This is what I am going to talk about today as an example. So if you are wondering by my accent where I am from, I am from Colombia. I lived for many years in Costa Rica, and then I moved on to Australia, specifically in Tasmania. So a lot of people say I jumped from a paradise to another paradise to another paradise. So, life is hard, so one have to do the, dirty job. So I am co-founder of WeKnow, as you see in the introduction, and the CTO, and we are a fully distributed company located in this location, mostly in North America and South America, a couple resources in Europe, and myself in Tasmania. So this is good to be a software engineer, so you could work from the top to the bottom. Depends how you see. About what we do, as we know, so maybe if you heard or you use Drupal console project, we are the creators and maintainers of this project. So until today we have 3.3 million downloads. So it's a very useful tool for beginners and experienced developers to try to increase their speed in development for Drupal 8. Please try to use. If something fails, sorry about that. So today, many of you, I guess, you want to talk about Drupal and Drupal and Drupal, right? Because this is what we do. And when someone asks, as a company, as a developers, to define ourselves, we always say we are a Drupal company, or I am a Drupal developer. But actually, I think this is not true, at least not anymore. So I have this question for myself as a developer, as a company, like 2 years ago. And actually last year at the beginning, and then as a CTO, I was trying to figure out exactly mapping the knowledge we have in the company. So as a developer, what I did, I created a tool using Meteor.js and Mongo to try to learn that tool. And then I create this tool, and what I do in this tool is enable people to do self-assessment about what technologies they know and what level they know. In that way, we identify what resources are the best fit for a specific problem. So at the end, we ended up with this picture. So we are not really a Drupal company, because Drupal is just the part who is named content, but I could say it's like a 25% of the knowledge we have in the company. We have a lot of knowledge about, obviously, Node.js, JavaScript, all these frameworks for front-end, DevOps, artificial intelligence, and I could say all developers and companies, and at some level, the mapping of the knowledge is something like that, right? So I was thinking maybe we have to stop to sell ourselves in that way, because this is what we have right now. And actually, when some people say, if you are this kind of mythical animal, the unicorn, because you are called yourself a full stack, actually, this is the best expression of that. Being a full stack is having a lot of knowledge in your mind, and some of them are more deep than the others, but this is what we have right now, right? But what happens when we think only in terms of this is what we do, this is what defines us, a Drupal developer, right? So, as they said, if you have a hammer, everything looks like a nail, right? The problem we have is this is our hammer, right? So sometimes it's not the best tool to solve the problems, because even I could say sometimes Drupal could provide sometimes a solution, but maybe not the best solution, right? because we don't have the exact tool for what we are trying to do. So I could say last 5 years, we are starting to use this concept that now is called Headless, which from Drupal 5, we were using services and this kind of stuff, and nowadays it's like a common knowledge, and if you are not doing Headless Drupal, then you are so 2017, right? And this is what we do. So in regular terms, this is what we do right now in Headless Drupal. So you could use a traditional Drupal, or you could use a distribution like Accio Reservoir, or use content time from Lullabot, mostly using JSON API, and then you fetch content to React and Vue. This is basically all Headless Drupal. But if you do that, then you think, and maybe you are questioning, why I am still using Drupal? Because actually, I could get rid of Drupal and start to using this, right? But we do that Drupal because this is what we know. And then some people feel a little bit ashamed about themselves, like, I am still using Drupal, blah, blah, blah. I don't think so. This is something you need to be hired, that you need to be proud. Because, for instance, this product API platform is really amazing if you are using a database, good transaction, doctrine, and everything. But if you are starting using something like that, you lose a lot of things you take by granted in Drupal, authentication, workflow, and everything. Because all of these things are missing here, and then everything you see, oh, it's simple, and then, oh, crap, I have to build myself, right? So you lose and you gain something, right? It's the same in the other side. So if you are planning to go full stack in Headless Drupal, so there are a couple things you have to think to consider before. For me, these are the big four: reliability, security, hosting, and performance. So maybe for the younger, this is an old picture, but for the oldest, if you are 34 and up, I remember the first day early this century when we consider as a developers if we do HTML, and I code in HTML, right? So our full stack was really, really simple. So now this is going to be something to start with Node maybe 8 years ago. So Node wasn't in the map that time ago. So this was like the kind of product we have to be sure is working well to try to say our product is solid, right? But things are changing, right? So now, because our platform are getting more complex, our sites are getting more slow, right? And then we need to introduce something else, like Varnish, because our site must to be, faster. But then, Varnish is okay, but then we introduce more variables, and then our size is again slow, and then we have to introduce something else. And then we include Redis, and now we include Mongo because we have to do some stuff like that. And now we introduce Node.js to do sockets and everything, blah, 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 blah. So you see the slide space is now getting not too much space to include more tools, but guess what? So one solution is to put the icons smaller, right? And now we introduce GraphQL, and then you use Rabbit. And then if you have a conversation with someone else, and then if you don't say these sexy tools nowadays, are you not using GraphQL? Are you not using Redis? Oh, no, so you are so 2017, right? But all this thing is cool. But what that means is, as a developer, you need to be a unicorn, because you are supposed to know everything from left to right, and in a professional level. And this is what unicorn is called. Yeah, and if you are a company, that means the same. So maybe for each icon, you have to have 2 or 3 resources to be, or have to be a company who really, really good seniors developer, and they are getting crazy because they have to manage all of them for themselves, right? So that means our platform now is getting more complex. And that complexity, every time you include a new piece in the equation, that means your security is getting more complex to maintain, because you need to follow out not just Q. Because security Drupal, I could say it's quite easy to follow, but then when you are trying to update with the security, maybe that affects on other dependency, and then it's because maybe you include some Symfony package and then affect Redis, or if you update some Node.js, so the things are getting more and more complex, and this is why now companies require a DevOps guy to try to deal with this kind of stuff, or finding a hosting provider to solve all these things. Either way, what you do, if you solve in-house or in a company, that complexity means money or time, right? So someone has to pay for that. And then that means we are doing a big investment in trying to, stay in the hype, using the right products, stay in the platform to try to maintain our size flexible and usable in the way people is expected, right? And then you have to find this size. So it's funny for me, some people are still asking where I could find free hosting, but free hosting depends, because there are free hosting for what? So yeah, or cheap hosting, like a less than $100, they say, yeah, you could find, but how many pages you want to serve, how many users you want to do. So now it's like your hosting provider, if you are doing yourself, or if you are hiring a third-party company, that means now you require a more proficient company in terms of the complexity they have. So maybe GoDaddy is not the best hosting if you are trying to provide a best performance for your site. So now the list of providers is narrow and narrow and narrow. Or you do it yourself. So taking all this in count, so that means this is the performance we have to take care about. So this is the typical flow, and what we are doing is, in this layer, try to put products to try to reduce the time between database and visitor, right? Because it doesn't matter if you use PHP or Node.js or something, at the end, all requires some processing in some place, and that includes some micro timing, and at the end, could be 1 second that will be kill your site, and then the visitor go on, right? So all these tools, Varnish, Redis, and everything, what mean is like we are missing the all good days. In the all good days, we have just HTML, not a notepad, you push, and boom, everything works, right? And this is why we say we create a page, because on those days, if you want to create a page, you literally rename the page 2, change something, and then I have a new page, right? And that's been, for me, it's like actually we are missing. So we are trying to go back in time, to go back to flag files. Because at the end, even if you have Mongo, Postgres, GraphQL, and everything, what Varnish, Redis, what they do is simplify something to deliver a flat file. This is exactly what CDNs do, right? They don't care about what language you use, what database you use, how complex you have, because what really matters for the end user is the result. It's a flat file. It's an image, it's an audio, it's an HTML, that's it. I don't care how proud you feel about your platform. I don't care. That's it. So everything else is new again. So this is why some people have strong arguments about, you have to do something more faster and versionable and blah, blah, blah. So you have to use GitHub because everything is in that. You don't miss any change and everything. And this is why products like Hugo, based in Go, Jekyll is a popular product. I think this is from GitHub right now, Microsoft, that allows you to have text files written in Markdown. You push a commit in GitHub or GitLab or everything, and then using GitHub, they pre-process and then push. And then when you get the file, you get the CDN, and nothing is faster than this, right? Nothing. So today I'm going to talk about a little bit about Gatsby, but it's basically the same solution. What problem this tool have is there are more for people like us, I think, right? When us, I mean developers. So being honest, I am not a front-end developer. I am back-end developer, but I like to say I do the new back-end from the new front-end. So I do React and this kind of stuff. but nothing from React to the top. I mean, less or something. No, this is not my thing, right? But what happened in these tools is like you miss a lot of things that we really love in Drupal. Content edition, what you see, what you get. You have multiple images, resources, authorization, workflow, and everything. And you don't have that in these resources. So that means like you are going 2 steps forward in terms of performance, but maybe 3 or 4 or 5 in time when you have to edit the file. So the good old times, remember? This is just one user. So you are using that file, don't use that file. I am using it. And then I'm going to push, and then you are going to take, something like that. So it's like a development using Slack, right? I am going to use this. So this kind of blocking. There are some products that are trying to solve in this. Netlify, Forestry, and Cloud Canon. What they do is they provide a JavaScript interface where you could, click the file, and then they provide what you see, what you get, kind of professional, I could say. And you edit, and they save, and then you commit, and do like that. But editorial process is more than what you see, what you did. You say what you get editor. So maybe these solutions, obviously these products are new, will be what we are expecting now in 2-3 years, with more iterations and with the sophistication of clients getting better and better. So I could say for a current client you have right now, if you're trying to use this, they are going to try to kill themselves. So it's not useful, but it's a good step forward. It's UI, you don't have database, and it's faster, right? But then you could say, what about if I do something in the middle, something that I lose some stuff, but then I get another, and at the end, the end user, the persona who really matters in our business, get happy, right? There are a couple solutions, but using Drupal. This is a Drupal model called Tom. What they do is you do the Drupal side, you do the theme in Drupal side, and then with this model, they use a couple custom hooks and other hooks, export the whole site HTML. You could do that, something like that with other tools like HTTrack. You provide the URL, you fetch the whole Drupal site, and then you send that. But they are trying to do the same from Drupal because allow you to do some processing. You could do that. But the problem is this solution doesn't allow you to have control for things like the breakdowns in media, iPad, iPhone, this kind of stuff. No, this doesn't work really well. So if you get a 5 megabyte image, it's going to download the 5 megabyte images. So this is a problem. So maybe we could try to do something in the middle, as I say. Getting Drupal as content management view for the product environment, but the final result is going to build using Gatsby, or if you prefer another one, you could use another. So our new process, the idea is going to use in Django, which is JavaScript, API, and markup, HTML. This is the final solution. We are trying to get to the flat files, right? So what I am trying to show you today is this is the slogan for Gatsby. And what they are trying to do is try to represent the mesh we have nowadays in development, right? So we have like 3 kind of personas: the content editor, we have the developer, and the visitor. So each one, they are requesting different kind of stuff. The visitor, for him, is the final result. Faster, what I want, in the format I want, that's it. The content editor, they want to have tools like time scheduling, permissions, many kind of things to allow the legal to block in some content and everything. And the developers, well, they always want to do the last framework that was released the day after before yesterday, especially in JavaScript. So they feel frustrated if we are not using Angular, Vue, or something like that, because we want to use that. So how to keep this solution in a way everybody is happy, right? So we need to try to find something in the middle. So in this equation, what we say is we need to combine projects in the way we maybe need to think about our solution like find something really good specifically in what they do. I mean, if you are going to sell things, maybe you could use Shopify to fetch the products and use that part. You could use Drupal for the content, or you could use Discuss for the comment. Why we stop using Drupal for comments and in behalf of Discuss? Because Discuss, they really do a good thing with comments, better than the Drupal, better than you could imagine. And I think nobody complained about that. Oh, it's better, that's it. So why we don't do some other things like that? So we put Gatsby in the middle, and this Gatsby solution use React. If you want to do something like this in Vue, just Google Gatsby for Vue. Actually, literally, they create inspires in Gatsby for Vue. I guess it's seismic or something like that. But the principle is the same. Okay, so what is the idea of Gatsby? So we have the source of our content, could be any CMS. We have the file system for the files, and then we have the database. Gatsby create a React application, combine all the content, and then put the result in the CDN. So we just decided to use Drupal to do that. So what Gatsby do in development is they fetch the information using JSON API, create a temporary database in your machine, and then you could create transformation and use React to create a front-end application. And when everything looks nice, then you run a process to build to create the all static content and then push into the site. So Gatsby is an Node.js application. It's easy to install. So we could have JSON API, Gatsby, and when we are happy, we build that. So that means I create a sample with all the content to fetch this. We combine with the React application. And when you say this is the final result, then you deploy the HTML. And that means after that, your Drupal could be off totally. So that means we reduce the layer of security because your service could be on if you want, but could be off also, or could be totally in an intranet uncertain. So there is nothing more secure than a flag file. Nothing. That's it. No ports, no restriction, nothing. The only insecurity maybe if you share a flag file with your password, right? But this is up to you. So what that means is your performance now is reduced only in 2 layers. CDN, no database, no cache system, because your cache is the CDN server and then the visitor. So in the CDN, if you are visiting a website from the USA, the first user download this morning, get the CDN in Singapore, and then the next visitor in Australia is going to hit really quick, right? And then remember all this platform structure we have, all the levels we have. So it's almost reduced to have only Node.js in terms of Unicode. So you have your Drupal for the content. You don't have to do timing on that. You do everything into Node.js. But how hard is is try to do this? So when we do that for ourselves, so first, to try to use the advantage of Drupal, this is a contribute model we published yesterday. This is a markdown, what you see, what you get editor, to enable us to include images as markdown, because when in the second one is we write a plugin for Gatsby. It's not published yet, but it's going to be published in 2-3 weeks. So the combination of the source with this module, we could identify the image from Drupal and then pre-process to deliver in the final result in the proper media. Because when you using the media module in Drupal and you put in the content, you get this URL, right? Depends of what you define, size, blah, 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 a URL like that, right? But this is like the final result. If you are trying to do a static version, it's impossible to determine what is the media correct for the size. So what we do that is Gatsby recognize the markdown and say, oh, this is the picture you want, because we know it's from Drupal. We hit Drupal to say, okay, give me the version for mobile. If you don't have, then Gatsby generate. Give me the version for iPad. If not, we generate. Because otherwise, it's just HTML, and we are not able to do that. So this is contributed. It's totally useful. The integration with media module obviously could be improved, but it's in progress. So this is going to be released, as I said. And then we write another module to enable us to publish, to start build process, in this case, to Netlify from Drupal. Because some modules, what they do is every time you save a node, then immediately push. But then you have like a race, right? Editors are saying, no, it's better if, it's like a code freeze. So you say, okay, this is the content, blah, 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 and when everybody's happy, then you run a build, and then you push to the CDN. So also, you have to learn JavaScript, you have to learn React, you have to learn GraphQL. So those components, I could say learn, because depending on the company, maybe you have to do. But I could say 60% of companies right now, at some level, they know all of this, right? So it's not a really thing that you have to push really forward about that. But something you missed. So sadly, how many of you is going to miss the render array if you are from the front-end developers, right? It's gone, not tweak, not in layer, not team pre-processing. Maybe this team pre-processing should be happening in React or in Gatsby plugin, and then you have to use GraphQL. But you keep this. You keep data modeling, you have containing, pad auto, all this kind of stuff you get from that. You must use all these plugins to try to create the solution. And the whole thing of this is try to create the right tool for the right job. So what does mean? Now, as a company, as I say at the beginning, it's impossible for me to try to say we are the Drupal companies, right? And actually, when we have only this point of view, it's getting hard for us to hire people, right? So nowadays, if you want to hire a Vue developer, a React developer, Node.js developer, I could say it's 10 times easy than finding a Drupal 8 developer, right? So we are struggling ourselves. If you are putting a posting job, you need to be this, and how many years Drupal is outside? 3 years? 5 years experience in Drupal 8. In Drupal 8, so this is not going to happen. So, but what about if we try to solve the things using the sources we have, right? So maybe we take the front-end part in the area that people really like to do those days. So they like to do Vue, go for Vue. They like to do React, go for React, right? And if you already have some maybe senior or almost senior guys, and maybe they are focusing their architecture, to create the content, to define the workflow for the web for people, and then just combine this, right? And also in terms of pricing, is going to be cheaper, right? So this guy could be productive from the very beginning, and then you could solve the problem you have and this. And also, you are going to look like a more modern in terms of the solution you have, right? When you are doing this sales speech, and then you say, we are, decouple, CDN, and blah, all these things that people like to to hear. And then, yeah, you take all the things, GraphQL, React, modern tools, and so on, and so on. So there are some, side backs. Maybe people could talk about that. Some people say, but if I do this solution, or this is affect all headless stuff, how I could process the contact form, for instance, right? because the contact form is supposed to go to Drupal. So there are many ways to do that. Some people what do is put a proxy to the server who is running the front end and then trigger to the back end and then process. But I think maybe we are thinking in the other way. When I was showing the Venn diagram long time ago, so remember what I talked about Discourse? Discourse is good processing comments. Drupal is good processing content. But maybe a form, a submission, is not good at that. So, but maybe you could ask, what systems are good in processing submissions? Maybe CRMs. So maybe what we need to do is find a product, let's say Salesforce or something, to process that. So it's not necessary that everything must go immediately in real time to Drupal. Maybe you could use Sugar CRM or Salesforce or whatever. And then at the end, maybe daily or weekly or whatever, you could push back that content into Drupal and then close the cycle. But in the same way, we have Salsify and other products, right? Okay. So I will skip the question a little bit. So what happened to us? So I have my blog migrated. I used before a tool similar to Jekyll called Express to generate my blog a static website. We did into Drupal, and then this was the performance using Lighthouse, right? Not really good, being honest. And then we say, we need to do this and this, and then we maintain to using the Drupal, using this approach, and we reuse part of the Drupal work we do. I will show to you in a minute. And now we get this, right? Same Drupal, and this is we jump from 60 to 81. And what we have is, my blog is, I put off almost all the time. And then my site is alive. So how I reuse the content. Now this is the front end part. So for the Drupal we use pattern lab. So we create these components, atoms. No. Sorry. I am going too small, I guess. Okay, maybe, I don't know, see. So we create the atoms a little bigger.
Much bigger.
Perfect. Okay, so in Drupal, we create this. We create the atoms, the molecule, the organism, everything. And we use this into Drupal. And then we say, okay, so we know React. We already have that in Drupal. So maybe we could just combine these things. And then in terms of hours, if we invest 100 hours doing the Drupal stuff, because we already have that, we invest only 25% of the time in this. And if we review this, let me go to a molecule, a hero, and this is the hero based in front end, and that was almost exactly what we do in Drupal, right? And then if you use something like Nox or Next, so Gatsby is just a JavaScript application. So you have things, this is the output, is in public, and then you have pages to create the paths. Oh, sorry, I cannot. This okay. Let me show you a little bit the Gatsby node. So this is a script for plugin. This is the one we are going to publish. So what we do is we define in Gatsby the source in Drupal as a JSON API. Gatsby create for us for all content, the whole GraphQL stuff. And now we just need to find, okay, I am going to fetch these nodes, and then you need to do something like Drupal. I say, what templates I am going to attach to a specific node. So it's something similar like Drupal. So you define the template using React, using Pattern Lab, and here in the association process, you do that. And then React, when they build the output, they combine all the recipe and then publish. So a lot of people think all this solution is created static HTML, but it's not that. So at the end, what you get is a React application, and then this is just the beginning of your integration. So you have React, you have JavaScript, so now you start to play in, so you start to do the integration with Salsify, with Salesforce, with everything, right? So you just solve the problem of resourcing for developers, and also solve the problems for your hosting provider in terms of the resources you have to that, or the resources in money you have to pay for that. But you maintain the Drupal stuff, and now your problem or your solution is getting more rich and more fancy, if you want, for the developer. So you are still in the business or what you're doing. So if you are good selling Drupal, you maintain doing Drupal, and that's it. So I think with him, when we get some leads in the company, we want to do this, but Drupal is too much complex, WordPress is easy, and then we say, but why you are using WordPress? This is more fancy. Better results that you could get if you compare the solutions you could build with this compared with WordPress. This is beyond limits, right? So now we are saying the people is like we are getting even better results because we could provide the Drupal side things that maybe they cannot provide. And let me show you a little bit. Where is the mouse? Where is the mouse? One second. Okay. Okay. Second. Chrome get freeze. What? I don't know. Let me either is get code. Okay. Okay. So this is Netlify. So what I do with Netlify, this is too big. So what I do in the what we do. I hate what I cannot see. So how I pass. What is it? Anyone how to escape from full screen? Command Chief.
If you move the pointer to the top, it should give you a bar and you can break out.
Is the green?
Yeah.
Okay. So what we did also, this is the model we write. So in Salsify, what you do is same as GitHub. So you create a hook, and then our Drupal and this Git provide a URL, and in Drupal the model is just a URL for this Netlify stuff. So what you do in Netlify is you put a repo in GitHub or GitLab or whatever, which the image or your Gatsby project, and when you push the hit, what the Netlify do is they run an Node.js instance with Gatsby, fetching the whole content you have, starting a temporary GraphQL server and immediately create a build for the static HTML. And then they map in the folder for the output, and then you push. If something fails, they don't replace the old site, but that's it. So in the builds I have, obviously I am using a free account, but that could take between 5 minutes to 8 minutes. But I could process like a 400 nodes, creating everything. And this is what I have in the model for Markdown. In content. So if you want to see, so you see in one tab the Markdown, and then you see what you get, right? So you just using a regular Drupal, and the how looks is good or how bad. So you could be as creative as you want. So in terms of static is very useful and it's faster, and that's it. So I'm not saying this is the final solution, but I saying maybe for some projects maybe could be useful for your clients and useful for you to try to be relevant. It's another way to go. I like to say this is an offline headless Drupal, because you could go offline. And we have done 5 minutes. So if you have any question, or I will be outside, I could do a demo in a better resolution if you want. But I don't know if you have any question related with that.
I was just wondering, when you're in the Markdown whether you have links, if you're linking to internal content, do the links get added as /node/the number? And do you have Gatsby rewriting that as the front-end URL?
Yes, it's basically the same as we do with Pad Auto. So when we reach the content, we use the Pad Auto in Drupal. So the Markdown do all the transformation and the links maintain, internal or external. This is not a problem, right? But well, if you do Node, no, that is not gonna work. But you are not supposed to use links with Node, right? This is the main thing. Any other question?
Mm-hmm. I'm interested. I guess I look at this, it looks like it has a lot of promise, but I think about a TV station and maybe someone's got the ability to favorite videos to watch later, or contact forms, as you say.
Mm-hmm.
Be interested to know what other, the stuff that isn't provided by a static content model, and how you've tackled some of those challenges in projects, if they've come up for you.
I don't understand the problem.
Site search,
Mm-hmm.
which needs to go to a service that's more...
Well, search is something we solved years ago with Solar or with Elasticsearch.
Sure, okay.
Right, so it's the same solution.
Yeah.
So now nobody think about using Drupal search, right? So we solved that, I don't know, 8 years ago with Apache Solar or Elasticsearch. So it's just, if you're thinking in a problem like that, then you think maybe this is a company who create a service that we could use isolate, and if in the future we need to integrate to do something, just with the API we fetch this information, and that's it. This is how we do. So search is easy to answer. I think we are running out of time, so thank you so much. I will be outside if you have any questions.